Так, 1, 2, 3. Меня слышно. Кстати, битрейт-то, наверное, бешеный какой-то. Так, все, да, все работает. Кто-то даже зашел. Так, все работает. Все работает хорошо. Рамолла. Рамолла Че.
Let's start going over some of his moves. So, first, let's talk about 5P. 5P is like, it's very good because it's 4 frames, and also he's like one of the few characters that actually gets a strong knockdown. But what this move is most used for is being like a safe check. You can use this a lot against like jump-ins, so like, Kai is kind of a bad example, but against someone like Milia, you can always use 5P to kind of like control, like preemptively guess that they're gonna, what's the move called? Capel on you. 5P is extremely good. But like, the thing about this is, it's good, but 5K is better. The only return is, or the only difference, excuse me, is that this has much less recovery. Much less. Much less recovery. I think this has 9 frames recovery. This has 25. 2P is also similar. This is 5 frames, but again, the benefit is you get a knockdown off it. So like, you can do this, but essentially there's some situations where like this will whiff, but this won't. So there are some 4-frame punishes where you want to use 5P. Going to 5K, essentially this move is extremely strong. It does pretty much everything in anti-airs. It's good to start pressure with. The only disadvantage is it's kind of bad on whiff, but like it's 25 frames on whiff, and can't really go wrong with it regardless. Like the odds of you getting whiff punished, it's quite low. 5K into 6S combos. It's good pressure string. It's jump cancelable. Get good combos on jump. It's extremely good. The only thing that kind of can be a downside is mashing out of things that sometimes can be bad depending on pushback. So like if you try to do it like here, for example, he just leaves. So you can't just always rely on 5P to mash out, but I mean, it's extremely good. Just because he has a dead zone, it doesn't really matter because of how good he is at different ranges. So pretty much like I try to use this as a Twitch like react anti-air. This is a little less consistent than 6P, assuming you're reacting as good as you can. There is more of a dead zone like directly above it, but of course the reward is much higher as we showed. 2K is extremely good as well. It's 6 frames, very fast though, recovers very quickly. Even better, it complements his kit very much because of this. Again, 2K success on crouch. But the reason why that's specifically so good is because if you ever do pressure with far slash, this will catch it. You have to FD in order to get out of the situation. Which is one of the worst things about dealing with soul pressure, because like, this situation can happen to you. Even though it doesn't get you much damage, it's like, you have a lot to consider off that situation because of how good K is. And just in general, it's a very good like neutral check tool. Like I said, there tends to be a bit of a dead zone
5P, 2K.
with 5K, but you can see 2K is very good at fixing that issue and giving you a good combo usually if they would use a move that would beat 5K. So that's very, very important. Then let's talk about 6P. 6P is like an anti-air. Since we already went over 5K, 6P is more consistent anti-air. 5K is just fast. It doesn't have any sort of invul. It's just a very good hitbox at a very very fast pace. Extremely good. But 6P actually does have invul, and it has way less dead zones. The benefit of 6P is that it's just reliable. You don't have to worry about basically you just have to keep 6P in mind as like a very consistent, clean way of getting a knockdown. And the benefit of it, even though you don't get as much damage off it, even if you just, let's say you get a counter hit, you get a hard knockdown, you get to start your pressure. So that's the most important thing of all, because Soul's whole goal is knocking you down and taking you to the corner and then, go ham. Speaking of that, next move, Close Slash. Close Slash is extremely good. It's very plus 3. It's very fast. It has like 10 frames recovery, so even whiffing this shit does not matter. It hits very high up in the air. Extremely. It leads to very good damage, and it has very good Gatling options because it will go into both 5H, which is important, and Fire Slash, which is important. Both very, very good, very, very important. Use it to pressure people if you think they're going to overspec. You may notice if you watch me, I do a lot of close slash, dash up, close slash. And it's because even though it's minus, or you're at a disadvantage, you're leaning into the fact they're not going to do anything. This builds a lot of risk. This builds a shit ton of risk. In fact, I believe it builds 20 risk on its own. Not 20, but pretty close. So this is a good move to spam, to abuse on them if you think they're just going to respect you. The benefit also is if they try to backdash. That will catch them too. If they try to jump, it will catch them. So the whole game plan with Soul is basically you start your pressure with Close Slash. You either go into 5H if you think they're going to backdash, or potentially they can try to fuzzy throw on a Fire Slash. They can throw you, but the point is it's about rock, paper, scissors. If they start trying to preemptively throw you after this, then they're gonna die. So that sort of situation, it's favorable for you. So Close Slash, very, very good. Start all your pressure here. If you think they're going to respect you, or you want to add more risk, Close Slash Fire S. If you think they're going to backdash or mash on you, 5H is very, very important. So here, this is a common point, because they can backdash and throw you, right? But you can do delay 5H and you get a combo. Right, pretty good.
О боже мой, его там урона!
The other benefit is they can theoretically backdash this if their timing is perfect, but Fire Slash is much more easier to backdash because it's only 2 frames active. 5H is about 4 or 5 frames active, so it's much, much better for catching backdashes, and it's very important. Next thing is Fire Slash. Fire Slash is the meme button. Everyone says it's his best button. It's honestly not. It's very good, but it's absolutely not his best button. It's +2, but it doesn't necessarily matter that much because of delay gatlings. So your whole game plan is you can delay your string off Fire S, go into 5H, you can pressure more with 5S. But where it also honestly really shines is in neutral. It has 13 frames recovery, so that may not sound particularly like heinous, but that's like a war crime. Let me show you a specific example. So if you actually try to backdash his far S, you cannot. A meaty far S is impossible to mash on unless you have a 4 frame. You can see Giovanna has a 4 frame, so she can backdash this. If she's 1 frame off or you're 1 frame on, then that happens. If you do not have a 4 frame, you cannot contest that. At best, you will get a trade, which is what just happened. So if you actually want to avoid far S, what you have to do, I'll show you. See? On your 3rd backdash, you're far enough to press a button. That's very important to know though, because when people understand this, you can start doing 6S instead. 6S is a very good option. We'll get to 6S. But essentially, what makes this button so good is that it's slow recovery. But there's a lot of situations where you cannot backdash it, and even if you do, where you get counter hit, it does hella damage. Mei is the only exception to who can backdash it and do like a 7 frame. She can do F Dolphin. Anyone else cannot. She has a fast backdash and a fast option out of it. So, next one, 6S. 6S is a god button. This is easily the best, his best button, and definitely, probably the best button in the game, like by far. This button has no fucking recovery. It's hella active. It's very fast for a button as good as it is. It gives you a huge amount of damage on counter hit. And it gives you hella meter. If you ever see someone complain about Fire Slash, but they don't complain about this move, then you know they're not even playing the game. The move is extremely good. It has like little to no recovery. The hurt box only exists if you, once you've whiffed it, basically. See, I can't even time it right. And it hits to the ground. So you can see, like, look at where his move is getting hit. It hits to the very ground. You can't 6P it. Goes half scream. This is easily the best button. If you're playing Soul and you're not using 6S, you're not even really playing Soul. That's how good this button is. It's so fucking good. It is, again, I would say easily the best button in the game. Easily the best button in the game. It's hard to punish. There's some characters who can only very specifically can punish it. And depending on distance, you get like a very good combo. Like I think Mame found some route that works like this. Mind you, this is off a 15 frame normal that you cannot 6P. It has great cancel options. A lot of things go into it. It's extremely strong. Again, best button in the game. Anyone who tells you Faris is the best button, they're stoners. This button is fucking absurd. This is like, if you want to get Soul nerfed, this is the button that needs to be nerfed 100%. Like, he has some things besides this that are good, but 6S like makes him from very good to like unstoppable basically. And again, it only has a hurt box on lingering. So the only way this situation can happen is if you whiff it. This is not something that will happen unless it whiffs. But look at how much screen size it takes up. It's extremely strong. Please use this button. If you play Soul, please use this button. Please use this button. Please use this button. I really cannot stress that enough. This button lets him zone out like characters designed for mid-range. Like he bullies Naga with it, he bullies Kai with it. He can bully characters like Giovanna with it. It's so fucking good. It is so good. So one thing about it is it moves you forward, which means sometimes if they actually try to IAD over you, it'll whip. So moving on. 2S, 2S is it's pretty good, but it has very specific uses. It has very long recovery. It's 20 frames recovery. Kind of the shadow of what it used to be. But the benefit is his hurt box does not extend at all. So like, let's say in situations like this, he does not like extend himself at all. The disadvantage is it's hard to convert off this. Unless you do like, you know, something like this. But you do get more on crouch counter hit. So that's really the most you'll get from it. QS is very, very limited on when you want to use it, but because of the recovery, but it's still very, very good and is a good like kind of check if you think people are gonna run at you like this. TS is very good for checking them, you know. But that's really it. It used to be much, much better, but they've added some recovery. It's about, I think, 10 frames startup, 3 frames active, and 20 frames recovery. So it's a bit worse. But what the benefit is, you don't extend your hurt bugs, whereas it's something like 2K, 2P, 5K, 5P, you know, they all extend your hurt bugs. This one does not. So that's kind of the reliable thing about it. It's still good, just requires some specific use. I would say if you're holding your position, 2S is very, very good. But really that's it. Like, you know, I would do it maybe if, you know, I had them in the corner like this. But again, it's easy to get with punish as a result. So be careful. Next move is 5H. So 5H we kind of talked about a bit already. It's an incredibly good move. Really, very good at combos. Very good frame trap. No matter what, mashing into 5H is pretty bad. Like a common thing is like this, right? You get a very good return from 5H after, especially with res. No matter where you get the counter hit, it's very good. And most trades will be in your favor because it's a level 4 move. The downside is though, if someone FDs this, if this situation comes up, you go fight fire to where fire split. So that's one disadvantage. But again, it has a lot of advantages besides that. Like I said, because of the active frames, you can get a lot just by trying to do this. If you think they're the type to try to backdash and punish your fire S. Also, that's something we actually didn't get into on fire S. Fire S is only 2 frames active, so one thing that people can do to deal with your pressure is backdash fire S and throw you. So if you expect them to backdash, for example, then 5H is your button. And again, it gives you an extremely good turn. Extremely good. It's a level 4 move, so it's almost the equivalent of getting counter hit by 6H in older games. But the idea is you want to represent all these options so that Soul has to use them, and then you get a better chance at defending against them, right? You have to microdash to do it. Like you can see I microdash there. But that's really it. 5H is really good also for converting near the corner. Extremely good. So it's an extremely strong option. Extremely strong. It also can catch jump outs because of how like wide it is. This is a common situation if they jump your fire S. Dang, it's too fast. My timing's too good. And then of course, if they air block it, they get a lot of risk because they air blocked the level 4 attack move rate. So extremely good. Not super good in neutral. There's really no use for it in neutral. It's like purely an offensive tool, but it's a very strong one. Next, 2H. 2H is combo fodder. Not a good anti-air. It looks like it would be, but it is not. There's no real point to use it. There are some situations where you can get a good punish starting with DP or TH, sorry. But it's very few and far in between. Not very reliable. I would never recommend using it as an anti-air. You have way better tools than 6P or 5K, or even air throw. Air throw is more reliable than 2H. The other disadvantage is I think it's his longest recovery move, or it's close. It's 30 frames recovery, so that's terrible. Don't use this. In fact, in any situation where T8 would be used, close slash is probably better. That's how good close slash is. Don't use this as anything. Just use it as combo fodder, or some punishes will start with this. Like against the ACP, if you get crossed up, 2H is an okay starter, but again, that's it. There's really no use to it besides using it in combos, unfortunately. But of course, it's very, very good in combos. Like I'll give a quick example. You can use it for revolver loops. Obviously, there's this route. It's a common route. It's extremely, extremely good. Just in combos though, but anywhere else, you don't want to whip this button. You don't want to try to anti-air with it. Just use 6P or 5K, or even close knife. All of them are way better, way more reliable. Next, 6H. 6H is extremely high risk, high reward. If you whip this button, it's terrible. This probably has like around, it probably does have the most recovery, probably like 32 frames if I had to guess. You can't special cancel it, so your return is very limited when you can use it, but it is extremely good in very specific situations. Like 6H at round start is very, very good. Very risky, but very good. The return is extremely high, but kind of difficult because again, it's all length for the most part. But again, it's 9 frames, so where it shines most is actually punishing a lot of things that would normally be not safe. And a good example of that, with 37 frames recovery, thank you. So don't whip that button. A good example of where it's best used is against Kai. In fact, like this matchup is probably made for like how bad Kai is against this button. Because of how far it goes, it's a great punish tool for that. And it's about plus 11, plus 12. Even things like this.
6 FPS-ом.
Let's see it closer.
Lol.
You can see I don't have counter hit on. That's actually a punish. If he fireballs at you close enough, this will even punish on hit. So that's how good this move is. It's extremely good. 6H is very, very good at being a punish tool, but please understand, they can do strings to space things out, so where it's not so bad. No, okay. The point is, don't whip this button. Do not whip this button. That's the point. Do not whip this button. The return is pretty high. Even if you get like knocked down, just don't whip it. It's extremely long recovery. It's minus 22 on hit, or on block, sorry. So it's very punishable. I would not really recommend using 6H at round start unless you're confident or you have meter, like after a wall break. But it's very good, and also you can use it to kill in some situations, like off OTGs. A good example is like Wild Throw. Oops. Wild Throw 6H. Wait, I only have 15 but this is like a common situation. Or like here, after HCP, being hit HCP. It's the only move that I think, or it's his only move that actually has 100% scaling on an OTG. So it's good for getting kills and very specific punishes and some greedy situations. But if you swing at this a lot, you're probably gonna just die. So be smart about it. 2D is like a shadow of its former self. This used to be my favorite button. This, if you played against 2D in this game, you don't even know how easy you have it. This is like the most watered down version of 2D I've ever seen. This button is like, it used to be the god. It had 3 to 4 frame low profile and 7 frame startup, which means if your move did not hit to the very ground, or it was not low enough to hit 2D on the 3rd or 4th frame, you would lose. And it got a huge combo on trade. But now it's about 10 frames startup. I think it's 7 frames low profile, so it's quite late. But still not that bad. It has some specific use. For example, on block, it's -2 now. -2 to -4. It's very good in that way. So like, you know, it can be okay to, like, if you end a string of like 5k 2D, you can still like threaten pressure after. So of course gives a hard knockdown, which goes into 6H as well. Or you can do HCP as a hit confirm. But yeah, like, it's good against moves that low profile. Like a good example is, like, you can low profile this, for example. Important to know in some matchups where like strong buttons don't hit to the ground, like Sulfur's. But that's really it. It's actually better than 2S on whiff in this game. It can also anti-air, and it's not as useful as it used to be because of how low profile works in this game, and also how they've buffed anti-airs. But for the most part, I would say that it has some use, but it's a shadow. It's a shadow of its former self. You have to be very specific on when you use it. But again, it's 18 frames recovery instead of like 20 what it used to be, which that's huge. So next, we're going to special moves. Let's go into gun thing first. We'll have a bit of context. This is about 50 frames, 20 frames startup, 50 frames recovery, but it's a very strong tool. Depending on distance, this is either punishable or plus. You have to understand how plus you are depending on the distance.
Даже punishable.
So like there, even if I try to press 5k, you can see I'm actually mashing it. It just loses. But if somewhere like here, it's pretty advantageous. Even there, it's advantageous. But then the more spaced out it is, the better, right?
Понятно. На расстоянии
But what
пары
this
слэшей.
really complements success, especially because you can just do this. It's extremely strong with success because you have such a long range tool like this. A hard knockdown 2D into Gunflame can be like plus, I think 20 to plus 15. So it's extremely strong. There is some issues with it though. Of course, if you try to Gunflame preemptively, you can get punished. Some characters can even just, depending on distance, jump forward and punish you like that. But it is a bit harder because of how wide or how tall Gunflame is in this game. So it's better than it used to be, for sure, but it's still kind of risky. So this is normally what will happen if you do this at a distance, right? So how you can get around that is you use Feint. You can use Feint, or you can just not cancel at all. Both are very good options. Feint will give you meter, and if they're specifically looking for you to do the, like, you know, the animation, then Feint is pretty much useful for that. The whole purpose is for that. There's not much use besides that. The biggest benefit of it otherwise is in some combo routes, you can actually go for combos that would normally not work. Like this. You can use Feint to cancel the recovery. Get more meter. It's very minimal. You can see, like, it's almost like 1% meter you get from it. But it is meter, and that's the point. There's no reason not to take that, so if you're gonna get meter, you know what I mean? But otherwise, there's not really much use for it. It's basically to just beat people into reacting, and then you punish them for it. Do not use this on block strings like this. Expecting them not to mash, because this is still about 30 frames recovery, 25 to 30 frames recovery. So it's not that hard to react to in this contest, you know. Next move, Revolver. Revolver is pretty much good in a lot of ways. Revolver is a great, like, hit confirm tool from far away like this. Like if you know they're gonna backdash, it's a great hit confirm when you'd normally not be able to get anything else. Revolver is great for combos, for catching people trying to jump out of strings. Like a good example again is if you think someone's gonna jump after your string, like let's say you do this. This is actually plus. If you make them air block Revolver, you are at advantage. But the other benefit is, even if you're just far away, like here, from this distance, you pretty much cannot be punished. So spacing yourself for Revolver to not be punishable is very important, and it also like lets you threaten more pressure after. If you have meter, you can always go for other pressure extensions, like this. This is a good way to hold pressure and frame trap from it as well. Revolver is like one of the most important things in this kit to know. If you get a hit, you get a pretty good return as well. But for the most part, it's very good if you couldn't get any other hit confirms. Like, let's say you get like a 2S hit from here, Revolver's all you're gonna get. You get a really far 6S, Revolver is gonna be the only thing that works. Of course, assuming without meter. So it's a great way to hit confirm. It's very important to understand how to confirm. One of its most important moves for sure. And of course, like it leads to great damage on RC. So like, understanding how to use Bandit Revolver better is very important, and it's also like threatening Revolver RC with meter, and then not using it like afterwards, like using the threat of Revolver RC instead of always going into it, like instead of going into this every time. If you do like this, it enables you more on offense. Next thing is Bringer. Bringer is actually kind of misunderstood in a lot of ways. It can actually be plus, believe it or not, or slightly minus. Like from here, like I said, it's basically even. But if they do it right on top of you, you can see this is actually a punish. You can actually throw punishes. Throw is one of the best options because you don't have to commit to a ton. And if the soul player starts to like flail with it, then that's that's in your favor. But as a soul player, that's the sort of thing you also want too. But it's very, very powerful. It's great at stalling. If you have a slower DP, you essentially want to try to use that to punish. The reason why I'm giving tips against it is because it's pretty straightforward to use. It's just a very strong dive kick, and it's something you can hold too. As you can see, that's if you fully hold it. And if you don't hold it. So like, it's essentially, think of it as this dive kick from Exert but on crack. Next move, SCP. This move is a demon move. It's actually, I think it's 39 frames recovery, but people aren't really used to punishing it yet. So like, go hog wild if they don't punish your first one. Just go feral, fuck it. I'm joking. Don't actually play like that. It's essentially a very strong SCP at 7 frames, and it hits pretty high. It's essentially just a very strong DP. It's not the best in the game, but it's a close second for sure. PH is a bit more interesting. So you can actually safe meaty this. Oh my god, my wake up timing. As you can see, because it's about 13 frames, this is not actually a smart DP to wake up with. It's actually quite small brain. But not a lot of people are aware of it yet. But the return is very good if you actually hit it. But really, you should only use that in combos. Or like very specific, like again, like against dive kicks like this, HCP is ideal. And that's really it. The clean hit is the most important part, and that's really where most of your damage is going to come from. Like, just to show like a comparison, like if you do that route, it's about, let's see. It's about 97 damage from a clean hit DP. So that's like where a majority of his damage comes from. Both are pretty good on RC. you get a very good return on both, especially if you're in the corner. Oops. So SCP is easily the most superior one for waking up, and HCP is better for combos. They're invincible in the same frame. HCP goes longer. They're both invincible until startup, basically. HCP is frame 13. S is about frame 7. Let's talk about the God move. This move is fucking juiced. Gives a lot of damage. Great combo tool. You can force pressure very well. Against characters who have strong armor moves, it's very important to represent Vortex into RC. Like, this sort of thing will actually punish armor moves. Like a good example is Leo's armor move, Oppose. So if you do this, and then the process of summoning, then they die.
Bruh.
But using this on block is, without meter, it's stupid. It's minus 17. Regardless of the damage, it's very risky. It's not something you want to use in neutral unless you're like, you know, it's down to the wire and you have no other choice or you have meter. But even so, using Vortex RC just to get in is ultimately pretty bad for you and not something you should rely on. You need to, if you do that, you need to stop. It works against you in the long term. But for like combos, for situations where like, you know, you can checkmate them almost, like this, it's extremely useful. And again, like for combos, you know, it's one thing that ends up with him doing so much damage, because most of his strong counter hit conversions go into Vortex. So without this, you'd be doing a lot less damage. But using it sparingly is very important. Oppose is a guard point, but the thing about it is you're essentially punishing, you're hitting him with the RC through Oppose. So next is Fafnir. This is probably his best special move. It's one of the best special moves in the game. For a variety of reasons. One, it does a chunk of risk. Two, it takes about 60 damage away, or 60 health away on block, unless you faultless it. And the benefit of a move like this is it forces you to act. It's plus 11, it's 24 frame startup. Pretty much how this works is you choose either Fafnir again, Microdash Far Slash, or you do Fafnir into 6S. Yeah, so one thing, 6S is a good frame trap from it. It's about 15 frames, so this will catch pretty much anything. Microdash Far S as well. The only thing that this loses to, or the speeds, is Fafnir again. So, but because there's two strong options that for frame trapping, people may be inclined, oh, I'll just down back, right? I'll just do nothing. But of course, if you do that, then that's how something like this happens, where you do Fafnir 3 times in a row. Basically, Fafnir is exceptional at forcing somebody to act. Like, if you do not act after someone does Fafnir and they threaten Fafnir again, you have to pretty much understand what's happening. There are certain situations where you can throw this. You can react and throw it, but it's still not super good to be in this position, because if you're a bit further out, like here, you have to be very good at your timing. Yeah, you have to be gutsy. Microdash Kara Fafnir, it essentially goes full screen. And the reason why this is so strong is because even if you're outside of 6S range, Fafnir is like essentially very good at catching you anyways. So learning Kara Fafnir is the only thing I'd really recommend for Karas, because it essentially makes it so they have to be afraid, even past 6S range, they have to be afraid of Fafnir. Because it's not like they can react. Like if they react to Fafnir, it's pretty much too late to press a button. And the other benefit of it is if, let's say you Fafnir and there we go. Even on trade, you will get a combo. So understanding that and being ready to kick and permit is very important for moves like that. And the other benefit is Fafnir has paration, but the return off it is extremely high. I forgot about Wild Throw. It is actually the inferior throw, because you can actually RPS, you can gamble on your wake up with it. So like I'll show you an example. So if you try to meet you with 4S, they can just backdash, right? Which means if you do this, you can do this to catch it. But if you start doing that, and you know, they'll represent other options too. It makes it an unfavorable situation for the most part. But it's very good for killing, like especially with meter, because this is burst safe. But that's really it. Pretty much using it for killing is ideal. The one thing it has is it has a stronger throw range here. You can see that it actually has slightly longer throw range, but the other benefit to it is it has throw and roll. So you can see like he's trying to throw me, but it's not working. But that's pretty much it. He does have you know, Tire Rape. Tire Rape, the only thing that you should keep in mind is that it has a clean hit. So like here, it does 237. I may have gotten it without even noticing, but this is going on YouTube, yes. It should be a better example. So that's 229. So that's the reason why. It's too optimized for the clean hit, and that's really it. There is also heavy mob cemetery, but it's mostly worthless. There are some very specific situations where it's kind of useful, like Axel's a good example. So the only situation this is really useful is if they hold this, because you can just beat this. There are a few other situations where it's useful, like it can be okay against Nago if it would kill. Basically, Fafnir, 6S, 4S, 5K, and 2K, I think make up all the buttons you really need to use. He can use his other buttons, but they're kind of specific. But like 6S is super good for controlling mid-range, just to go over it. 4S is such low recovery, and even making them block is advantageous for you. 1 4S means you can start your pressure, and they have to gas, right? And of course, even if you whiff 1 4S, since the recovery is so low, usually you could do 2. If you ever watch me play, you'll notice I do 2. I always do 2 far slashes. I mean, it kind of is Fafnir. Fafnir's shortcut. 6S, again, is super powerful for controlling mid-range. Gunflame is great for controlling mid-range on the ground and forcing them to use the air. 6P is pretty much the answer I'd recommend using most of the time, but 5K can be good as well. 5H for catching backdashes in the corner. Close slash to start your pressure. Close slash to catch jump outs too. Or backdashes. And that all complements like a throw game, right? The whole point is, you know, you represent close slash into throw, close slash far slash, throw. The whole idea is you represent those options so that you can do this, right? And then, you know, if they use their defensive options well enough, you can start varying like 2K, things like that. But there's no reason to make it harder on yourself than you need to. I'm gonna show you. I'll show you a secret technique. It's not so secret because I've done it and I've made a video about it. If you input throw PRC, this will only go out on whiff. It only happens on whiff. But on throw cinematic, it cannot play on anyone. So if you ever go run up throw with meter, you get this situation, and it makes it extremely favorable. This essentially means the only way to escape the situation is to mash or throw tech. That's basically it. If you try to backdash when he has meter, you've lost essentially. Because again, this will punish you. Yes, you always PRC